Mia Langley, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
So, hair, where does the journey start?
Oh, when I get asked this question, I'm like, should I start from my childhood or should I start from like my apprenticeship? And I think it's only like best to start, from my childhood because otherwise I wouldn't be doing hair if I hadn't have kind of gone through my childhood sort of thing. So I feel like I kind of grew up a lot older than everyone I kind of knew, went through some stuff, and then throughout high school I was dealing with mental health, and yeah, I decided to leave school and start hairdressing when I was 15. I'm 19 now. So yeah, I've been doing about 4 years now, and yeah.
Take us back to your childhood. I saw a
Mhm.
video you had and said you had to grow up quickly.
Yeah,
What
like my little interview one of
Yeah,
me
at the
announcing my
content
salon.
studio.
Yeah.
Why did you have to grow up quickly?
Well, my parents, they had a drug addiction. They were functioning addicts. So I never knew when I was younger. I was very like oblivious. Like I was like happy, grew up at the outdoors, like very happy kid all the time. And then I think I grew older and older, and then you kind of like realize more and more, and then you're like, oh shit, like, and then my dad went to prison when I was 13, and then I think I was like kind of hit like, oh shit, like this is like serious now, I think. And then I kind of would revert back to my childhood and be like, oh, okay, like I understand now, like what was going on all that time sort of thing. And I think it really hit me when I got into that like 13, 14-year-old stage. I'm like year 9 in high school, like, you're really like kind of throwing into the deep end of high school. And then I think that's when I hit like my real like mental health sort of thing. Yeah.
So you had no realization that the impact those experiences were having, because when you go through your childhood, what are you comparing to? It's all you know.
Literally. And I was so happy, like they did such a good job of just being like such a good mum and dad. Like I did not know. My mum was like my best friend. Like I had no idea. When she told me that she was like had a drug addiction, I was like, what the hell? Like I had no idea. She was very good at like hiding everything. She was such a good mum. So yeah, I had no idea until I did have an idea, and then I was like, "Oh my god, my whole childhood has been like a lie," sort of thing. So yeah, I had to really deal with that. But even when I was struggling mentally, like when I was, early teens, my mum was always there. She like took me to therapy, like really got through it. Super spiritual. She went through her own spiritual journey, and if she hadn't have gone through that and been such a good mum and taught me the lessons, then I would have been like done for. So she was very good with that.
So they were still emotionally available and able to
100%.
give you the love.
Definitely.
But
Definitely.
what sort of led you? Because what sort of forced you down to become more independent? What was the effect? Like, why did you have to become more independent?
I think because I don't know, I think I had so many like dreams when I was younger, and then I got to high school and I looked around and I was like, oh my God, no one is going through like what I'm going. It's a very unique experience to have your dad go to jail. Like, some people's mum and dad are divorced, or like the dad left them at like an early age and stuff. But like, I didn't know anyone whose dad had gone to like prison. It was and my mum and dad are still together, like married, like still together, everything like that. So it was a very unique experience. I think that's when I was like, oh, well, I'm really like alone in this with other people my age. So I wanted to get out really.
So what was the experience like at school, like with people's judgment
Mm.
and what you were thinking and feeling at the time?
I was like quite popular in school. Like I had lots of friends. Like I was friends with everyone. Like I don't think I didn't feel any judgment from the thing. I was very open about it. I was like, yeah, like this is what's happening in my life. Like I didn't like care at all. I had no shame that that was what was going on. I think it's when I started to get like not mentally there, and then because I developed OCD from it, because everything that happened in my childhood was out of my control. So then my OCD was the one thing I could control.
Mm.
So then I was like developing OCD. I thought I was going crazy, and that's when people started to like judge me and like make fun of me. And I was like, "Oh, I'm like I have friends and I'm like cool in school, but I'm still getting like made fun of," sort of thing. It was a very weird experience, and then I also felt alone from no one understanding what I was like going through and stuff, you know, having panic attacks and not knowing. And yeah, so
What did OCD look like for you?
oh my God, I literally, if you knew me like 3 years ago, you would have thought I was a crazy person. Like I would have to do patterns, like my number was 3, like I wasn't like a cleaning OCD, it was like a patterns and like schedule type things, like very like your brain has to be in control, intrusive thoughts, that type of thing. So, you know, doing everything in threes. Like I had a whole nighttime routine before I went to bed. Otherwise I couldn't sleep. I would think something bad was going to happen to me, or if I touch my leg like 1, 2, 3, I would have to touch it again like another 3 times. Or if someone said something bad, I would have to be like, touch your head 3 times, touch your head 3 times, you know, like it was very like intense. Yeah, it was crazy.
Where did this dream come from? Like a lot of young people have big dreams and goals, but often aren't able to take the steps for them. How did this hair dream or vision come about?
I think I just wanted to get out of school so bad, and then I was like, oh yeah, like I've always kind of been into hair. Like I would always like braid my hair in school. Was never like, I didn't know what an apprenticeship was. I was too young to even know what that was. I was like, what's an apprenticeship? How do you even do hairdressing? And then I found out, and I was like to mum, yep, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to leave school. I'm going to start my hairdressing apprenticeship. Going to earn money. Like, and that's just what I'm going to do. And then I started, and I was like, oh, well, I'm actually good at this. Like everyone was telling me I had like a natural talent for it. Like I was learning really easily. I think like the knowledge I just like soaked up, and then I became like obsessive over it. So I think I got just really good at it really quickly. So yeah.
It's interesting to look back for yourself and reflect on if you didn't have those hard experiences, you might not have led you down the path. And I often reflect on the hardest times that I've gone through, and it's enabled me to change as a person, which has enabled me to take decisions now that I'm really proud of.
Yeah.
Do you look back at those experiences and hold a place of gratitude for them despite being difficult at the time?
100%. Yeah. Like I probably like because I went to therapy and stuff, and I just started to kind of like little bit get better. And then I was like, you know what, like I can't be in school if I want to like get better fully mentally. I think I more wanted to just get better mental health, I think. And then like hairdressing just literally evolved into that. Like that was a part of the journey I had to go through to like for my mental health to evolve. I swear to God, as soon as I started hairdressing, my first day, gone. Like didn't do my things again with the OCD. Like it just literally vanished. It was crazy.
What does get better mean for you when you're talking about therapy and mental health? What was that?
I think at the time it was like in my 15-year-old brain, it was like, I just want to stop like feeling like I'm crazy. But then I just like wanted to be happy, I guess. Like I feel like I was just always like on edge, always like blowing up, angry. And yeah, I wanted to be happy. And it's good that my mum also, I had conversations with my mum too. Like she would apologize for certain things that maybe traumatized me that I found out through, you know, my therapy sessions and stuff like that. So like having conversations with your own mum and them like validating your feelings, I feel like helps so much. Yeah.
From what I understand about psychology, I feel like it would have a huge effect on you, the fact that your parents were able to hide this addiction from you.
Yeah. Yeah.
When did you find out, and what sort of effect did that start having on you?
So my dad went to prison when I was 13, and then I think it would have been like a year later. I think I was like to my mum, like, I think I was like, do you smoke weed? And she was like, no, like it's this or whatever. It was like a, you know, more intense sort of drug or whatever. And then I was like, oh my God, like, okay. And then I think that's when it hit me. I was like retracing my steps of my childhood, being like, oh, that's why that happened. That's why that happened. Or, oh, that makes sense now, you know?
So that gave you a sense of understanding, which sort of,
Yeah.
did that remove, I guess, because what happens is when we're a kid, we go through these experiences, and when a kid goes through a hard experience and is feeling something inside, they have to make 2 assumptions about the world. The first is our parents are idiots and are the problem, or there's something fundamentally wrong with ourselves.
Yeah.
And what do you think a young, naive kid is going to think? They're going to think they're the problem.
Yeah.
And then, you can start to develop shame. But it's interesting that you didn't.
No, I didn't. Yeah, I don't think I did at all. I think I was just like, oh, like my dad drinks alcohol and whatever. He's a bit of a dick sometimes. Like, I literally just thought that. And then I was like, yeah, I didn't think anything about me, or I was just like, looked at things and I was like, oh, whatever, like, move on to the next, I guess.
Were you able to validate your own feelings and actually feel and process these things at the time?
Like, at the time of, you know, traumatizing things happening to me when
13
I
to
was younger.
16, finding out your dad's in prison, learning that they've sort of hidden some of these things. Were you able to process them, or did you fall into this, I guess, repression and trying to just say, yeah, things are okay, there's nothing to worry here? Were you able to sit with that?
I think I was like angry at them for a little bit, for kind of like, I thought that they were like lying to me sort of thing, because I did have no idea. But now I look back on it and I'm like, thank God I didn't. And that's like, you know, when everyone's saying like it's their first time living too type thing, or their first time being a mum, like, and yeah, I think if they hadn't have done that, then I wouldn't be where I am, and I wouldn't be the type of person I am now. So yeah.
All right, continue on this hair journey. So you discover this passion, first day of work, all the OCD starts to get removed. What happens after that?
I think, yeah, so like I'm in my first year. I didn't have a very good experience in my first year of my apprenticeship. Like, I do spread a lot of awareness about apprenticeships and stuff like that.
So what does that look like?
What do you mean?
An apprenticeship, what's this process like? How old are you? What did you do?
So I was 15, so you kind of go in, you do a bit of a trial, like they see if they like you or whatever. They instantly liked me, I think, because I was young and whatever. They just kind of wanted anyone to work there, really. And then you go to TAFE like once a week and stuff like that. It's just like any normal apprenticeship, really. You're just like earning money and yeah.
So you were 15?
15, yeah.
15.
Yeah, I was fresh 15. I was like 3 months after turning 15. I started my apprenticeship.
So you weren't going to school?
No, so yeah, I dropped out of school the third term of year 10. Yes.
What was the family reaction to that? What was your process like? Because I know for me, all I know in my experience is I've always been the academic type.
Yep.
I have this vision of sport. Like, what were you thinking about life and like where you were headed?
My mum was like, oh, well, literally her exact words were, oh, well, it sounds like you got a plan, so I'm not going to stop you. Like, she wouldn't like let me leave school if I was just going to like work a Hungry Jack's or something. Like, she was like, oh yeah, you have a plan, so like I'm not going to stop you. Like, school's obviously affecting your mental health, and if you want to do this, then I'm like, I'm all for it. I think she was like proud of me. She was like, well, okay, like that's cool. And like then they were never like strict on like academic stuff. Like, they didn't finish school themselves, so I was like, I didn't have any issue bringing up to them that I wanted to leave school, basically. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Continue this journey on. The first year was relatively difficult. And then
yeah. I think my boss at the time just didn't know how to be a boss. I genuinely don't think she should have been a boss. Like, it was just like I struggled a lot there. But then I think it made me want to be a better hairdresser. And then I think I realized really quickly that I was good at the social media. I started to like really gain that passion of like recording, like camera, like I'm a nerd for like all of that sort of like tech stuff. Like, I'm like really into that sort of thing. And I think I always knew like I wanted to be like famous and like big. Like, I've said from like day dot, I was like, I want to be famous, like hairdresser. I'm going to be like a famous hairdresser one day. I think I literally like manifested where I am like today, because I would talk about it every day to my clients and stuff. I'd be like, I'm going to do this when I'm older. Or they'd be like, oh, what are you going to do when you finish your apprenticeship? I'm like, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that and I'm going to be on all this sort of stuff. And yeah, I was fully managing my first year's apprenticeship place. I was fully managing the Instagram, like fully marketing the whole entire business, like as a 15-year-old. They would like put me on like FaceTime calls with like website makers. Like, I was doing all of their Instagram posts, taking all of their hair photos, like everything. Now I look back at it, I'm like, it's crazy. Like, yeah, I would market the whole entire thing.
Were you overwhelmed with that, or did that feel natural?
I was like, it's my baby, like, can't take this away from me, like, it's mine sort of thing. I was glad to do it. Sometimes I would complain about it because I wouldn't get recognition for it sometimes, or like they would want me to be like old school and stuff, and I'm like, no, this is the way you need to like do it, like this works sort of thing. But yeah, I loved it. I was like, if anyone tries to like mess with this, I'm gonna like kick off. Yeah.
Do you know why you want to be famous, or like where that drive comes from?
I don't know. I just want everyone to know my name. I feel like I just like, I don't know. I've actually never been asked that before. It's definitely like not like money driven or anything like that. I'm not like, oh, I want to be like rich and famous. I just feel like I have so much to like give, and I feel like my story's like so relatable as well. And I feel like being young, I want to be like young famous almost, like be like a role model to younger people because I'm young still, you know, like I'm still a teenager. You know, I think I forget that sometimes, and people look up to me, and I'm like, "Well, you're like older than me, you know?" So yeah.
And what's that purpose?
Oh, I have so many. I don't think I can even pick one. Like I wanna educate. I wanna be a role model for people who have struggled in their apprenticeship. That's something I'm like really trying to be doing lately and stuff. Trying to get more awareness out there for, you know, literal children in the hairdressing apprenticeship industry because it can be really shitty sometimes. So yeah, I want to travel the world. I want to do educating. I don't want to just be a hairdresser. Like I couldn't think of anything worse than in 10 years, like waiting for my client to come through the door, doing their hair, thanks for my money, and next client, you know? Like I want to do way more than that.
So you want to promote messages about chasing dreams and stuff? Is that important to you?
Yeah, for sure, definitely. I feel like for young people as well, I feel like they're just told that like you have to wait, the long game. But I'm like, well, I did it, so like you can too, sort of thing.
What about your friends? How do they react to what you're doing?
Oh, they love it. They're just the best. Like my girlfriends are honestly the best. Like the amount of messages I get all the time, I think that's maybe something I take for granted a little bit. Like they take the time out of their day to always message me, telling me how proud they are of me. They always support me, even just like little things like reposting my story or, you know, just like swiping up to the story, being like, I'm so proud of how far you've come. And I think because they've watched me from like a young age or even just like a year ago, because I've just grown so much like over such little times, you know. And all of my friends, like most of my friends, are from them being clients too. Like I make so many friends from hairdressing. And then I think back, I'm like, how did I meet you? And then I'm like, oh, like I did your hair. Like that's how like we're such good friends now. So they can like, I think they see it like with their own two eyes. So that's why they're so, yeah, they're so proud of me, and I love it.
Take me through the learning process of hair and cutting hair, because for a guy, just it to me,
Sounds so simple.
I don't understand like the whole thing about hair. Like to
Yeah.
me, it's just Jack and we cut each other's hair.
Yeah.
Like we don't really care. But
Yeah.
for women, it's a big thing, and there's a lot of
Oh, yeah.
detail. So take us through that.
Sometimes I do get confused because I'm like, oh, I literally make money from you just wanting your hair done. Like I get like that sometimes too. But I feel like it's just like self-confidence. Like if you're a girl like and you got some highlights in your hair, like you just feel so much better. Even for a guy, like you get like you trim your beard and you're like, oh, that's so much better. I feel so much better about myself, sort of thing. So I feel like it's definitely like just a big confidence boost. Hair makes such a big difference in girls. Like even today, I'm gonna wear my hair down, look to myself, nah, chuck it up. You know, you feel so much better, sort of thing. So I'm glad that I can do that for girls. Sometimes I forget that.
But take us through the learning process of cutting hair and like
Learning
obviously you
how to
went through
do
an
it.
apprenticeship and like
Yeah.
all these little details that you have to learn.
Oh my god, it's actually so hard. Like no, like taking in so much knowledge. There is so many things you have to learn. Like I didn't. Every hairdresser will say one day it will just click. Like you're learning all of these things over and over and over again, learning all these different techniques and whatever. And then I reckon it took me about 2 years to like finally be like, oh, I get it now. You know, like you have to learn color theory, underlying pigments of hair color when you're like lightening it, and then like if someone's hair turns out red, what color do you put on it to make it this color? And it is very hard. And then even just cutting hair, I didn't know how to properly cut hair till about 2 years in, like. But it does just like click one day, and then you find yourself in what you want to do with hairdressing as well. It is hard though. Like I found certain things really hard, and then some people found certain things really easy, like some things like that. And some things you literally have no passion for at all, like you don't want to do. Like I don't want to do a perm, but like you have to learn it, you know, at TAFE and stuff. Yeah.
So you found you were quite conscious and you had to be hyper aware of like all these little things you're doing. And then over time it started to become more automatic.
Yes.
And do you ever, you're doing hair and then you stop and you're like, shit, I didn't even have to think about that.
Yeah.
This is just so automatic for me now.
It's such a, yeah, literally. Or like you'll be consulting with someone and they'll be like, oh, I want this. And then I'll know exactly what to do. Like my brain will be like ticking, like whilst they're talking to me, and I'll be like imagining what I'm going to do on them before I already do it. But when you're an apprentice, you're literally looking at them like they're speaking gibberish. And then you have to go into the back room and be like, fuck, what did they just say? Like I have to think back to everything that they just told me and stuff like that. It is really hard to learn, to take in all the knowledge and learn this. And especially when someone else's self-confidence is in your hands, like that is the scariest thing. Like as an apprentice, like I'm sure like I mess up so many people's hair, and I'm like grateful for them even giving me a chance to even do their hair. But you just got to learn from the mistakes. I feel like that's how you learn the best, is like making mistakes. Every single thing that I have learned is from a mistake that I've made. So I'm like, oh, don't do that again. Then I'll do it like this next time. Or my boss pulling me in the back room being like, Mia, why did you do that? You should have done it like this. And I was like, oh, I should have done it like that. So yeah, it's scary, but you got to go through it. Everyone does. Even now I make mistakes, you know. Like if I mess up someone's hair, or even not even mess it up, just make a small mistake and I didn't say anything, they walk out and be like, hey Mia, like I'm unhappy with this, you know. You just got to rectify it, really.
How do you do that without letting it define you and impact you?
Oh my God, it's taken me so long. I used to like, especially when I started working for myself, that was probably the biggest struggle that I went through, is people, you know, saying stuff to me like back and stuff, and me just freaking out. I couldn't problem solve. That was my biggest issue. Like I feel like that's the best thing I've learned now, is how to problem solve, but I couldn't before. Like I would just start freaking out, or you get defensive as well, and you're like, no, that's how it's going to turn out. Like I didn't mean to do, like that's not my fault, that type of thing. But now I just be like, oh yeah, girl, like easy fix, come in and I'll do it for you, you know? And you literally have to not take it personal. You might think something was the best work you've ever done, and someone might go home and literally cry and be like, I hate it, you know? So
here's a good question. Is the quality of the haircut determined by them or by you? Because to me, it's a very subjective experience. So while you said it might be the greatest haircut and you know what suits them and you've given this a haircut, whereas they might like it or dislike it, you're sort of outsourcing, I guess, the worth of your haircut to the person.
Yeah. I think it depends on your communication to them. Like if someone comes to me and says that they want this hair color and I know it's not achievable, I'm going to be like brutally honest and say that's not achievable. And then I'm going to tell them every little step that I'm doing and be really like, I communicate so well with my clients. I tell them what I'm doing whilst I'm doing it. If I say at the start of the appointment, maybe it's going to go like this, then halfway through it doesn't go like that, I'm going to tell them. So then if I tell them all this information and it doesn't, like, and they listen to it and they're like, yeah, and they agree, and then later they find out that they don't actually agree, then I feel like that's not on me, you know, because I communicated that with you. I was straight up, I was honest, communicated with you throughout the whole thing, and then sometimes you just have to be like, well, like, I'm sorry, but I communicated that with you, like, you know, it's kind of like a you issue, to be honest.
How have you developed, like, has this been a real it's pretty obvious, but like it's a real amplified self-development journey by having daily challenges and exposing yourself to difficult situations, learning to problem solve, owning a business. What have you learned about yourself?
Oh, I've gone through the biggest self journey in the past, like, I would say 6 months. Like I went through a big spiritual journey as well, like, because as a hairdresser, you do get really down and out about yourself. Like it's really easy to get burnt out too. So I started going and talking to a holistic coach about 6 months ago, and that literally helped me so much. Like, honestly, I reckon she full saved my life. Like, the person I was 6 months ago, not who I am, like, today, or even, like, 3 weeks after I started talking to her. Like, it just completely changed my whole perspective. Like, I don't care what people think about me anymore. Like, I can have balance in my work life. I can go to work and be happy while I'm at work rather than standing there and be like, I'm so burnt out. I hate this. I hate hairdressing. I hate my life. Like that sort of thing. So I've definitely gone through a huge life journey. Or when I first started working for myself, I was 18 and I thought I was mature back then. And then I looked back then and I was like, God, I wasn't nowhere near mature enough. Or like not even mature enough, just like I was not what I am now sort of thing.
What shifts did you make with her?
I made like we call it like a Mia Monday. Like I have Mondays off. So like I make sure that I rest and reset on my Mondays. I make sure that I do things for myself so that when I do, so the problem was that people were coming in for their hair and I was working so hard and they were eating up my energy. Like I was letting them like eat all my energy. So then I would go home at the end of the day and I would be so exhausted and I literally couldn't talk because it's hard talking to people for 8 hours straight, like over
Mm.
and over again. So I felt like my energy was just getting like strained out of me. So now I take time for myself, really work on myself, do everything I want to do for myself, put myself first. And then when I go into work, all I want to do is talk to my clients and, you know, give them the best hair, give them my best energy. Because if I'm not feeling that energy, then how am I supposed to even give it to someone else, you know, or like give them the best hair color that I've ever seen if I didn't even go and take myself for a walk or something, you know, the other day or whatever.
What practical tools have you learned to not become as much of a sponge to their energy? And like, because the saying I navigate when I am immersed in community events, like it can be a real drain of your energy. But what have you learned to do to be able to still service the same amount of people, but become less affected by their energy and emotion?
Yeah. I think I'm like a big like I'm like in my head thinker. Like I think I am like a bubble. Like this how I think I'm like I have a bubble around me and then my client has a bubble around them and we're just touching bubbles but they're not popping mine and I'm not popping theirs. We're like two separate like energy levels. Like I am here and they are there and we are like talking together but we're not like sucking each other out of whatever. I don't know. I just think that in
Mm.
my head and I just think, and then I make sure that I do things for myself as well. Like now I've been going like for walks in the morning. So I'm like, oh, I did something today rather than just waking up, going to work, going home, you know? So I'll do those like little things. And on the Mondays, like I'll do this like really fulfills me. And I'll go like, I don't know, even if it's just little things like going to Kmart or something, like I'll just like do little things for myself to make me feel like my energy is like enough for my clients when I come into work. Because then when I'm at work and I'm really zoned in, sort of thing.
Mm. How did you turn from being an apprentice to owning your own place? It seems like a massive jump. Like
Yeah.
what do most people do when they become an apprentice? Do they work for someone else? Is that the standard
Yeah,
route?
you have to work for someone else. So do TAFE for 2 years. You just do it like once a week, and then your third year is completely just in salon, so you don't go to TAFE. Um, so in my third year, I was like getting through that, and then I ended up getting kind of like let go from the job because she's like it was kind of like, oh, like if you're gonna go somewhere else you might as well just like go now. So
Mm.
I got signed off a couple months early and I literally was a third year on a Saturday and started working for myself on a Tuesday. Like I had $1,000, I got paid out $1,000 from on all my annual leave, brought some colour, I rented a chair literally like across the road from where I worked before. And to rent a chair is basically like you have your own everything is all your own ABN, like your own business. You just work in another person's salon basically. Like I had my little chair, my little corner, and I did that for a year and a half, and then I got my salon just recently.
Mm. How'd you
Yeah,
get all clients and all of that?
social media, honestly,
Really?
TikTok. Like I started TikTok when I was in my third year, maybe like 4 months before I started working for myself. And I don't know, I was just posting on there because I was like, this is the new thing. Like, why is no one else doing this? I was the only person in that whole salon doing TikTok. And I swear I was getting so looked at weird. Like,
Really?
yeah, even when I got my first client from TikTok, they were like, oh, you got to make her pay $100 deposit because just in case she doesn't come. I'm like, she's a real person. Like, she's going to come. And then, yeah, I just started getting TikTok clients and TikTok clients. I just started like, I was posting like all the time. And then I'm pretty sure like everyone was waiting for me to go work for myself or like everyone was kind of just like waiting for me to make that change. And then I just got like flooded with it. So, yeah, I think everyone was just like, oh, finally, Mia. Like, yay.
Mm.
Like, we've been following you for ages. Like, we've been waiting for this. And also, I was pretty cheap as well when I first started. So it was
Mm.
like easy, like, kind of money. And then, I don't know, I think people just kind of like my presence on social media already. So they're like, oh, this gives us an excuse to go to her now, sort of thing. I
Mm.
literally got fully booked in like for 2 weeks straight, which is like big for like someone who like just jumped in the matter of 4 days. Like, yeah, 2 weeks fully booked out, like, straight away. And then but I knew it was from TikTok because I would always ask them, like, oh, like, how'd you find me? And then say TikTok. I seen you on TikTok, followed you on TikTok. So, yeah,
Oh,
I'm
cool.
glad that I did do that. So I know now, you know.
So take us through finding this place
Mm.
and then committing to that, and I guess learning all these bits and pieces around business.
Oh,
Like
so
I'm sure
hard.
there's a
Yeah.
lot of behind the scenes stuff that
Yeah.
you don't know about.
I was like 18, like, wait, I have to pay tax. Like, sorry, what? Like, oh, it was really difficult. Like, my brain, I think that's why I fell into like getting really burnt out and stuff, because I didn't understand and I didn't know how to like problem solve. So like when my tax like sort of stuff sort of came in, I was like, I don't know how to do this. Like, I'll just push it down. I'll just do it later, sort of thing. So it is really hard. Lucky the girl that I did work with, her name's Chloe. She was amazing. She was like my older like sister, and she was really good. She taught me lots of things about like just little things like money and tax and like all the GST sort of stuff and all of those like little things. And yeah, I think I was too like caught up in, oh my God, I'm making so much money and my TikTok's blowing up and look, I got all these views on TikTok. I just wasn't even worrying about it. So I think that's one of the probably biggest mistakes I made, was just like being so like oblivious to that sort of thing. Yeah.
Did that quick rise, money, followers, did that ever reach a breaking point where it was a bit like, this is good, it's bringing me a lot of happiness, but there are other more important things in life? Like when you reach the burnout,
Yeah.
like was there a realization that, yes, these things are necessary for life, I need money, I've got a great job, but
Yeah.
there are other factors in my life that potentially I'm ignoring a bit?
Yeah, like I was just all in work and making money. I was working till like 9 o'clock most nights. Like I was just like fully into it. And then it was like slowly starts to creep up on you and you're like, shit, like I'm not doing anything for myself. Like what do I do with my life? Like if you asked me a year ago, what do you do for fun? I'd be like, nothing. Like I go to work and that's it. So yeah, I think that was like a big thing. You just like you work all the time and you just don't know anything else really.
Did you know like who you are outside of work?
I don't think so. Like I just like, and I was going out a bit too. Like I don't really go out much anymore. Like I think I was just like having fun with it and I was like, yeah, I'm a business owner. Like this is so cool sort of thing. But yeah, I was just like very like all over the place. I think I was very oblivious and just, I would take like it week by week really. Like these are my clients. I'm just going to go to work. I'm going to go home, post on my TikToks, like post all the time and stuff. And yeah.
What have you learned about pricing? I know that like getting into business now, that's like an early thing to navigate, like price and value. And yeah, take us through your experience with being able to set prices.
So when I first started, I was quite cheap because I knew like that's just kind of what you have to do. And I was like, well, I'm new as well. Like I was a third year a week ago. Like I'm not going to be charging crazy amounts. But every year and kind of every 6 months, I'll like up my prices that little bit more. And then also coming with like tax and GST and stuff like that. And like even just I use really good products too. And I went straight into using really good products. Like I wasn't using anything less. I wouldn't, and then also I'm paying rent as well. Like I would pay $80 a day for the rent a chair. So I'm like, well, I have to pay rent. Plus I was doing really good jobs as well. Like my skill set was like really evolving and stuff. And then I was like, oh, people are coming to me all the way from Perth. Like they're traveling like nearly 2 hours for me. I'm like, oh, I can kind of go up and up. And then I think the more confident you get, the more you're like, they'll pay it. And then now I'm like, well, if they don't pay it, then they're not my client sort of thing, But I would say I'm still relatively cheap.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, like compared to like the city prices, because I'm in Mandurah. I feel like every hairdresser, they just put their prices up, or because our prices go up for things we need, So then we need to kind of like match that at the same time too, And then I think the bigger I get, the more skills I get, the better I get at hair. So I'm like, well, it's worth it. And everyone says it's worth it as well. I don't think I've ever had anyone complain about my prices at all. And I have people as young as 14-year-olds come to me.
Really?
Yeah.
What's your demographic like then?
Like 14 to like 25, I would say. So like really young, which is good. That's what I want. Like when I have like older clients come in, I'm like, don't tell any of your friends about me. Like I don't want you. I literally say, I'm like, by the way, like I don't want any of your friends to come to me because I want, like, they know as well.
Mm.
Or, like, sometimes, like, if they walk through the door and I, like, don't know them yet, I'm like, how did you find me? Like,
Yeah.
where did you come from? Who sent you to me? Because that's just, like, not, I feel like hairdressers these days, like, you will only do what you want to do now. And it's so good. I love how everyone's doing that. Like, I will only do what I want to do now.
Yeah, okay.
And also what you put on social media too. Like, all of mine are like blonde transformations, color corrections. You only see like a young girl's face, you know, or like people who are kind of like, I would be friends with all of my clients. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
You know?
it does.
So, yeah, you kind of just like, you get what you put out, you get.
Yeah, and also I guess you can start to protect your energy too. Like
Definitely.
having,
Like, I don't want to have to, like, dread having a client come in. Like, that's the worst thing for me. Like, I've, like, had to tell people, look, you know what, like, I don't think you're the person for me because I hate having to dread someone come in.
how do you have that conversation?
Oh, it's a bit brutal. Like, you have to just, like, I just message them and be like, hey, like, I just think, I don't know how you say it. You just kind of have to just be like, look, I just don't think we're the right match for each other. Like, it's literally like
Yeah.
breaking up with someone, honestly. Like, I've said to people, like, I don't think our energies are matching. Like, I feel like every time you're coming in, I'm feeling, you know, discomfort and anxiety, and I don't want to have to be feeling like that. And if you're coming in and I'm feeling like that, then I'm not going to, like, care about, like, what I'm doing to your hair and stuff, which is horrible. Like, I wouldn't want to do that to someone. So I'm like, it's in both of our interests that I would just break it off, sort of thing, before I get to the point where I'm like, I don't care about you. Like, I don't care what I do to your hair, sort of thing, you know, because it gets like that easily.
Yeah, I think there's this pressure that everyone needs to get along and be best friends.
Yeah, no way. Yeah.
Which is something that you have to navigate when, I guess, you're either in the service industry, something I'm involved with. It's like, it's okay because parts of me want people to like me, and there's this innate, you want to get validated by them. So you sort of, when you don't like them, you start to think there's something almost wrong with you, and you're like, oh my God, what am I doing wrong? Rather than being like, hey, like, not everyone's aligned for whatever reasons. And sometimes from the spiritual element, like, can be hard to trace back to why, but letting go of that need to please everyone is
for sure. And I think with social media as well, like, this is barely happening these days, having to, like, fire a client or whatever, because people see me all over social media. They already know what I look like, talk like, my personality, what I dress like, who my friends are, like, what I do every day. Like, they literally know everything about me before even coming into the chair. So I feel like that's the best thing. Like, I feel like it's very rare that I wouldn't get along with a client because I'm like, you clearly are coming to me for a reason, you know? So that's why I become best friends with all my clients.
It's a selection effect, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. They look at me and they're like, I just needed to come to you straight away. Like, I just knew. Or like, you came in my For You page and I booked with you straight away. So I'm like, I love that. They just, like, they're coming to me for a reason because they feel like they already know me.
Is that a blessing and a curse? Because the curse element is that they think they know you, but it's just their perception from what they've seen. Like with social media, we see behind the scenes of people's lives, and then suddenly we think we're friends or we have this relationship, but you've either never met, and then you introducing yourself to this person, you're starting to connect with them, but they already have this preconceived idea of who you are, what you're about, what you believe, rather than actually learning that out firsthand.
Sometimes, like, I don't think really, like, I feel like people are pretty good when they come in. They're not, like, straight away, like, oh, I've had a girl come in and be like, I know everything about you, you know, like, oh, really? Like, but I love, like, I feel like it's conversation starters, you know, like, it's good. Like, it's not really anything that I've had to, like, deal with, like, negatively. So I feel like it's fine. Yeah. It's like always they're like, oh, like, I don't know, like a certain, like, I have a dog or whatever, and they're like, oh, I have that same dog I seen on your page, or they know, like, my mum, and they're like, oh, your mum's so cute, or whatever, like, all that sort of stuff. So yeah, I feel like with young girls as well, they probably wouldn't even go to that point anyways.
With this salon, do you have other employees or planning to?
I have, no, I don't want any employees. I just have a rent-a-chair, and she's my best friend. Okay. So we did apprenticeship together, and then she went away, like, did traveling and stuff, and I was like, come work in the salon, like, you have to, like, just do it for a bit and see if you like it. And then she's like, okay. So yeah, it's really easy. Like, we just, like, it's so fun together, working together. Everyone's always like, don't you want employees? I'm like, no way.
Really?
Yeah, I couldn't think of anything worse. I just want to work for myself. I'm just too like in my own bubble. I think I'm too like almost selfish with my career that I wouldn't want to put anyone else in it almost. Like I just like want it all for myself really.
Did
Yeah.
you not think that would help strategically expand, being able to reach more people as long as the employees like are aligned with you?
I feel like if you see my salon, it's literally like 2 mirrors. Like my best friend's got 1 mirror and then I've got 1 mirror. And then also like these days when you're giving a hair service, everyone loves just having like the one person like do your hair really. So that's something I've always like prided myself in, like always having the client always has my undivided attention. Like it's just me and them like in our perfect little like bubble together. Like we're, you know, basically playing with like I'm playing with their hair and we're having fun sort of thing. So and I don't need it. Like I feel like people ask me that and I'm like, but I don't need, like I'm happy with like the money I get now. I'm happy with what I have now. And I feel like when I grow, I just kind of want to do that on my own sort of thing. Like I genuinely don't need an employee. Like I get my best friend Alana like helps me out with rent. Like she pays her own rent and that's just like that's a little bit of money, but it goes straight to my rent anyways. It helps me pay off my rent and stuff at the end of the month. So yeah, I feel like it's just like perfect the way it is. Yeah.
What about the other aspects of your life in relationship to all the time that gets invested into this work? Where else do you place your energy and time?
I feel like my friends for sure, like, and also like my relationship and my family and stuff. I feel like just relationships, I feel like they're so important because when shit gets hard, like who do you turn to first? It's like your mum, your like your siblings, your boyfriend, your best friends and stuff. And I would hate for any of my relationships to think that it's all about me and I only think about myself and my business, or I would hate for someone not to invite me to something because, oh, she wouldn't come anyway, she's too busy sort of thing. So, yeah, definitely put my energy into myself first and then, like, my relationships for sure.
What does investing energy into yourself look like?
Yeah, like I said, like, all, like, the little, like, practices I do sort of thing. I feel like I've been, like, trying to do, like, little hobbies and stuff lately. Like, I got, like, those little colouring books. Like, I've been trying to do those and then, like, I feel like rather than just doing hair, like working on my career in other aspects like this or, you know, getting like doing education like online and stuff like that. Like I feel like doing my TikToks is like fun for me. Like social media will never not be fun for me. And if it is, I feel like that if it's not fun, that's when it's like a problem for me, I feel. Yeah.
How do you navigate being so young and relatively innocent to life, but doing all these mature, independent things?
Oh, it was definitely hard at first, but I feel like I'm just like I'm so used to it now. Like I feel like I struggled a lot when I was in my apprenticeship because I was so young, like 15, 16, 17, talking to like full adults every day and like trying to relate to them and stuff. So I feel like I would have to like talk about my childhood for them to like for them to be like, oh, she's not immature. Oh, like she's actually like she's pretty, like she can talk. Like she's not like a child, you know. She's got her head screwed on or whatever. So I'd have to like kind of revert back to like, oh, let me tell them this kind of like my story so they understand me and they don't think I'm like just a baby. Because people think that about you when you're so young. You know, they just think you're just blowing drying the hand. Oh, you're such a baby. Like, you know nothing type thing. That's their very like, it's a kind of mindset. So I'm like, I feel like I'm like, I wish you knew. Yeah.
So you felt like initially you had to prove yourself?
Yeah, definitely. Especially to bosses and stuff as well. Like, I feel like I always had to talk about, like, the shit I've been through for people to understand who I am and stuff, or, like, and now I feel like my energy just gives that off now as well. Like, people just take one look at me or, like, listen to me for 2 seconds and, like, oh, you can actually, like, hold yourself, or you can actually have a conversation and you don't seem 19. Or people, like, will say to me, oh, I thought you were, like, 23 or something. Like, they think I'm, like, a lot older than what I am, and I think that's just the energy I give off now. Like when I say I'm 19, I feel like I'm telling a fib. Like I feel like I'm like lying to you, you know? Yeah, because I don't feel it. I don't feel it. So yeah,
it's definitely not the impression I get.
No, not at all. Yeah, and then like you hear my story and you're like, oh, like makes sense, sort of thing. Yeah.
So what are you planning to do now? Like just continue things? Like what else? What's on the mind?
I feel like I've put a lot of things on my vision board. Like I kind of want to take it to the next step with, because I do a lot of influencers hair. Like I do a lot of free hair to just get my name out there. I feel like it's really important to like put your social media presence out there as a business owner. And yeah, I feel like I just want to go to the next step. Like I do like Perth people, but then I feel like I want to get into like TV, like doing like people on TV's hair, like, and them coming to me, like not so much like me going to them and like doing someone for a show or whatever, but I feel like I want them to like come into my chair and them choose to come to me, and me like be in contact with like kind of like higher up people almost, like, because I mean I've heard that like once you're up there, like it only gets better from there sort of thing. And I feel like my name's already kind of getting spread across Perth already, so yeah, I'm really, really excited about that. I'm doing 2 really exciting people that I can't really share yet, but in like the TV industry. So I feel like I'm already like, yes, it's one of my goals. And yeah, I want to do education soon. I want to do like apprentice like training, you know, for like how to do social media, how to do colours like as an apprentice and stuff like that, how to be a good apprentice, what to do if you're struggling with your apprenticeship. And yeah, I just want to like take it to the next step really. And I want to be like big on TikTok. Like I want to be like a hairdresser TikToker. That's just what I want to do. Yeah. Like I love TikTok so much, and like I feel like that's where it all started for me. So I feel like it'd be silly for me not to just keep growing on there. Yeah.
I often find it's interesting how as you get successful, it just becomes easier to become more successful. Like for example, like influencers get free haircuts and a lot of freebies, right? But it's probably the people who need the freebies the least.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But that's why like it's an incentive or a realization that, or a motivation to continue working hard, because as you grow and develop as an individual in your business, like things get easier, you attract more opportunities.
Yes. Like it's like it's not what you know, it's like who you know sometimes. Like once like you know one person, you just, your name, it's like word of mouth as well. Like you just get spread out really. Like I'm just like, oh, and you like the biggest thing I've learned is just to reach out to people. Like just reach out. Those can't hurt, you know, like I just like reach out to like anyone. Even if I think that I'm not going to get a reply back, I just do it anyways, because I just like want to attract more and more people.
Your network plays a massive role. And the saying like who you know, I always have the spin on it of like people say it's not what you know, it's who you know. And I totally agree. But I also feel like what you know / like your skill set, like what you can do allows you to know who you know.
Yeah, for sure.
Like
no one be like, my influencer friends wouldn't be coming to me if I was like shit, or they come to me for a reason, or like, you know, they will look at my TikTok and give me a little stalk and be like, yeah, sure, like I'll come, because they already feel that vibe from me already, you know. So I'm like, I've already kind of, I feel like that's why the social media is so important as well.
Because it's like what you can do, like you have a skill set. And I think a lot of people want to make it money, success, or just want to have, you know, a certain life.
Yep.
But they're not willing to develop the things that will attract that. Like you've invested a lot of time and effort and energy into developing a skill set and vice versa. And it's like opportunities and things become abundant and you attract them because of what you put out there.
Yeah, for sure. And even just like doing the free hair, like I've been doing that ever since I started. Like even like when I first started, it wasn't for influencers, but it was to like build my skill set. And then like it's like, oh, let me just get some cool photos so it can go on Instagram and maybe it might blow up or whatever, like, or I want to start doing extensions, and extensions you get good money from, so I'm going to do free extensions, you know. So just like little things like that. And now it's going to keep developing. Like I've got 1 week coming up in the next few weeks, and I reckon I'll make like no money that week, because I've got like 3 whole days just full of influencers and stuff that I'll be taking the time out, and me making no money from them, you know. Like that's a whole day that I'm taking off that I won't make any money from, but I would rather do that because I know it will grow my business.
That's true.
Yeah,
it's very strategic, but it's also like trusting yourself
for sure
for the future. Like a lot of us are like unable to invest into ourselves right now because we want the immediate satisfaction. but then we get this delayed reward.
Yeah.
Have you learnt that through business, like being able to invest into yourself, into your business, and then reap the rewards later on? I think a lot of young people don't really appreciate that.
Yeah, I feel like as soon as I do that, then I get the reward after, and I'm like, see, this is the universe. Like, whenever I take care of myself, I get an opportunity. Whenever I'm not taking care of myself, I never get what I want. You know, like it's so like when I was searching for a salon, I just like wanted to like get out. I wanted to own my own space, but I was so like depressed and full of anxiety, and I was searching for all these places. I was like, can't find anything, like this is never gonna work. As soon as I started like seeing my holistic coach and working on myself, literally got an opportunity for the salon, got it straight away, like instantly. And I was like, see, this is what happens when you like put time into yourself and like work on that like vibration and stuff, because like once you're up here, like you just keep going up and up, like climbing the ladder sort of thing. And then like once you're down here, you can't expect to get a huge opportunity when like your vibrations are like, you know, like so like woo woo with it. But, you know, like I just like imagine that in my head. If I'm operating down here, I'm not going to be getting good opportunities for myself, because like what have I done to earn that really?
Totally agree. Yeah. What have you learnt from this holistic coach in relation to those vibrational frequencies? Like for a lot of people, the idea of that, it's woo woo, right?
Yeah, no, literally. I'm like, I talk to my clients all the time. I'm like, trust me, you got to do this. Like, I'm like, I full put it out there now. But yeah, definitely the vibrations, like 100%. Like if I'm not putting any energy into myself, or like, even if I don't, it's like, how are you supposed to like jump like up to 10 if you don't like take the little steps? Or like, you know, and people say like if I said I just want to be famous, but I didn't do all the little things to like get to that point, like it's just silly to say that. Like you got to check off little things throughout the list and stuff like that. And even when I say it's like in relation to people as well, like, oh, I'm not getting along with that person because they're operating down here and I'm operating up here, and now we don't align anymore, and that's okay. But yeah,
and that's the thing, because those same people who are operating a lower vibration will be attracted to you, because it's very
and they try and pull me down with them, and I'm like, no, leave me alone, I'm staying up here.
Yeah, Jack and I experienced that, and it's like it's difficult, right? Like you feel this like almost this disconnect and this misalignment. But what I've learned is how like quickly people are able to change, but also being able to, you have more control over your consciousness and your energy than you realize. And we don't need to be a sponge. Like I used to be very reactive and like absorb people's energies. Like
so easy. You don't realize you're doing it until like you go home and you literally like you're a mute, like you can't speak sort of thing. And they've just like taken it all from you. That's what I used to feel like. Like I used to just like sit there and be like, oh my God, I can't even like eat. I can't even sleep because I'm so like, and I'm like, what's wrong with me? And then I would go to work and I would let people talk to me about all their problems, and I wouldn't say any, and I'd just be like, yeah, you should do this. And like, I'm like giving them like everything. Yeah.
A hairdresser and a therapist.
Oh, we literally are. And now I just imagine myself in that little bubble, and I don't let them like pop mine. I'll still give them like my advice, but if they don't want to take it, then like that's fine.
Because there's a part of what I've learned when you're giving advice or having a conversation where you need to let go and relinquish the need for them to validate you for what you're saying.
Oh, it's so hard for me to do that. Yeah, fully. Like that's something I've had to learn as well. Like now I'll ask, do you want my advice or do you just want to rant? Because first, like when people are ranting to me, sometimes I don't realize, and I'll just go straight to advice, and they're probably like, this bitch doesn't even know me. Like, I just want to talk, you know, like especially to a hairdresser. But I'm like, you need to do this, like this will work, because like I feel like I'm like I can just relate to any situation really. Like I'll put my situation, anything I've gone through, into someone else's situation. I'll find somewhere to relate to them. So yeah, sometimes it's hard, but I think I'll stop myself before I like get myself upset sometimes.
That's often the conflict between masculine and feminine energy, and like why men and women often have arguments that spiral is because women want to be validated for something first before solutions, whereas men are like,
just do this.
Straight to the solutions.
Yeah, so true. That is so true.
I was going to ask you about this spiritual stuff. So something that I've learnt massively is this idea of surrender and letting go of the need to have things, because if we believe that you know, we aren't abundant in it right now. We don't deserve it. Like we create this like almost psychic distance between us and what we want.
What you want, yeah.
Like, so for the money, has your coach taken you through any of David Hawkins or like the letting go or surrender?
No, I haven't, but is it similar to like the let them theory a little bit?
It's related, but it's more the spiritual element of like, let's say we want something like money, for example,
Yeah.
but often that desire for money is fed through a lot of fear. Like,
Is it like live the life you want now? Like, because I act like I already am like big sort of thing because that's what I want. But like inside, like I'll just like act like that already. Or like when I look back a year ago, I was acting like how I am now, like in my career a year ago. And then I'll look back and I was like, you were talking on your TikTok like you were talking to like 30,000 people, but really there was only like 7,000 people, you know? So I've always, is it kind of like that?
exactly,
Yeah.
like embody what you
Yes.
want already.
Yes,
because
that's what I do every single
yeah,
day.
exactly. Because it's not only is it wiring in patterns, but also creating a high emotional frequency
Yes.
where you show up with abundance. Because if you're like,
Manifesting it already.
it's simply like manifestation, but it's like believing you have it, but also the pathway to that is surrender, which is letting go at a subconscious level the need to have the thing. So a lot of people want money or they have these ambitious goals, but what's driving that are these fears underneath that like if I do this I'll be worthy and good enough and validated by everyone. That's what's driving it. They can't see that. But when you start doing shadow work or work with a spiritual coach and you can get into that, if you're able to feel those emotions and like let go of them, like accept and realize that you don't need them, which is
because sometimes if you are so obsessive about it, you might go your whole life wasting that whole entire time like being like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. And then your path might take you to something completely different. And you're like, I thought my whole life I wanted to do that, but I don't even. Like I might get 5 years down the track and be like, oh, I don't want to do education anymore. Like, you know, like, so maybe is it sort of like that?
Yeah. And you also resist what's meant for you by coming from a place of fear and ego and need and lack. And this is a long process of inner work that working with coaches is so powerful because our mind is trying to come up with the solution and rationalize like, oh, I have this goal. And then it rationalizes why it's important. Like this job's going to give me this pursuit's going to give me this money and security. Whereas that's your mind trying to come up with something. But we all have like, at least for my belief, we have like a soul and more authentic purposes and pursuits. And how can you access that if you're just using your mind to think your way there?
Yeah. Like when I get asked that question, like, oh, well, why do you want to do this? I'm like, my first like brain thought is like, I think I deserve it sort of thing. Or like, well, I've worked so hard, so like, why can't I have it? You know, I don't even think there's any like reason why I want to do it, like, because I want to be filthy rich or because I want to be like, I want to be full famous and I want all these people to know me and love me and like get on their knees sort of thing. Like I'm literally like, well, I don't know. I just kind of want it and I think I deserve it. So why not?
Do people resist that message, like belief, or like what is if you've shared this with other people, how do they react to that?
I think they're like, yeah, I think you can do it. A lot of people say to me, like, when I first met you, I knew you would be big. Like, I knew you would do something. I knew you would be successful. Like, you just give that energy. And I think a lot of people are supportive of it. And if they're not, I wouldn't know about it anyways. I would have no idea because I wouldn't even let someone come in and tell me something like that anyways. And even if they did, I wouldn't believe it and get hurt by it because if I did, then it would mean that I would think that about myself. Does that makes sense? Something my holistic coach taught me. Yeah. It's like good. If you're getting offended at something, it means because you truly deep down think that. Like if someone says you're a shit hairdresser, I'm not going to get offended by it because I know deep down I'm not, you know?
Exactly. It's like if you said you're a bad podcaster, I just don't agree.
You're
I don't believe that.
Yeah.
But we're not able to access that subconscious belief, right?
Yeah.
So we get triggered and reactive because it's coming from our ego trying to protect us. But
we get defensive, like we deflect basically.
And there's a part of us that actually believes that.
Yes, I've like learned that so much, and I'm like, if someone was unhappy with their hair, it's because deep down I knew that I probably made a mistake that I could have rectified or something. That's why I was getting so defensive and like I would deflect and stuff like that because I kind of knew. I was like, you know. And if I did make a statement now, I'm like, yeah, whatever, like easy, I can do it.
And also not tying your worth to that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, not like, if this haircut, if it's not perfect, I'm a failure.
Yeah,
My business
literally.
is going to, because it creates this pressure. There's no flow. There's no just being. There's
Yeah.
like, I have to do this right. It's not just being and flow, and Mia shows up and she just is able to execute it.
Yeah.
You've created this pressure and this story that if you fail or don't do it right, you've given them all the power.
Yeah, 100%. I used to think that about just like what people would say about me, sort of thing. Like if I ever got like hate on my videos and stuff, like I actually have never like been affected by hate comments. Like my most recent video, it's just like all hate comments, and I'm just like, I just find it hilarious. Like I just don't care. But I'll only get like, ugh, if I deep down kind of like think that about myself, sort of thing. So I just think that like all the time. And then I found like, do you think that? Okay, you do think that about yourself. How can you problem solve it to, you know, not get so worked up about it and stuff like that? Like I've had like mental breakdowns before, being scared about what other hairdressers think of me as well, because I am so like young. I think like I used to think, oh, do they think I'm too young for what I'm doing, sort of thing, or I shouldn't be doing what I'm doing because I was literally 18 at the time, like literally a child still, you know? So I would get sort of scared, but yeah, I couldn't. I think, well, I'm 18 and look what I'm doing. Like I reversed it, sort of thing.
It's the only way is through. The thing that you're scared of is the thing that's going to become your superpower.
Yeah, exactly. I just couldn't, yeah. And even like if something was really affecting me, like, you know, like if you compare yourself to others, that's probably like the worst thing you could do. I was doing that a lot. All I was doing was comparing myself to other hairdressers, and now I just like unfollow them if I get obsessive, because I'm like, I like love them as a hairstylist. Sometimes I'll even like be like online friends with them, but I'm like, you know what, like your content and stuff is make me feel some type of way, and I just have to mute it. I just have to unfollow it, because otherwise I'm just going to keep comparing myself, and then I'm going to start to replicate you when that's not me, sort of thing.
You're going to drift off from authenticity.
Yeah.
Because you're triggered by something that they have, and you feel like the only way to rectify that is to follow them. Even subconsciously, we start to mold ourselves to other people.
Literally. You start to literally be like, oh, well, if they've gotten this far, then I'm going to start doing that exact same thing. But like everyone's on their different journey. Like, and I was 18 comparing myself to literal 35-year-olds, like 35 hairdressers that have been in the industry for 20 plus years. And I was like, are you dumb, Mia? Like, what are you doing? Like, you've been working for yourself for a year and a half. Like, there's no way that you could get to that point. And then that's when I sort of started to be like, well, I do want to get to that point. So I'm going to start acting like I already am at that point. And then that's when I've started to creep up a bit. But yeah, I used to do that all the time, and then I used to like come back down to earth and be like, why are you doing that? Like, you're literally comparing yourself to people that have been through what you're going through right now probably 10 times, and this is the first time you're experiencing that. So, and
you're always comparing one thing. It's like, if you want one thing of theirs, you have to have everything of
literally.
theirs. If you want to have this one thing, you got to have their life. You got to have all the things that they do to have that thing.
Yeah.
Whereas there's probably plenty of things that you have that they would be jealous of in some way. And not that that's the thing, but we all have different skill sets and value, and we're always constantly looking to other people's successes because it mirrors an insecurity or something that we don't have. Yeah. But rather than judging them, we're actually just judging a part of ourselves.
Yeah, 100%. Like I've had people come like and talk to me before and be like, and I thought they were just amazing and everything was so amazing about them, but they've been like, I really admire like your consistency on TikTok. Like you post like every single day, 3 times a day. Like I could never do that. And I was like, oh, they look at me and admire me. Like that's crazy to me sometimes. But yeah, really like it humbles you really. Like sometimes you just got to like be grounded. Like you got to put yourself back down to earth sometimes. Sometimes you're just in your brain floating so much that you just say, okay, calm down. Like come back down to earth.
It's really easy for the ego to get inflated, right?
100%. Yeah.
Like when you're doing so well, how do you do that? How do you balance like having success or even people throwing that word at you, like you're so successful, being able to feel worthy of it? Because I feel like you do believe that, but it's also like not letting that dictate you being the one who writes your version of success, whatever that looks like for you?
Oh, sometimes it is hard. Like, I want to say that, like, I do believe it, but it is, I don't know, sometimes it is hard hearing it. Like, not hard in a bad way, but when all these young girls are coming to me telling me they want to be me when they're older, or when they finish their apprenticeship, they want to be just like me. Sometimes I don't, like, fully take it in, like, until, like, I read all these messages and I'm like, whoa, like, you really do, like, have such a big hold on people, Mia. Like, sometimes I just don't think of that. Like, I don't think I'm like that until, like, I get a message, or, people are coming into the salon being like, I love your TikToks, or, like, I'll go out or something and people are like, oh, you're that girl on TikTok. And I'll be like, wait, what? Sorry? Like, it is very, like, I don't know, it is still weird to me, I feel. Like, I'm still not used to it, I don't think. I'll just try to be there as much as I can for people. Like, if they, like, I always, like, make effort for people that, send me nice messages, or, if someone says they follow me, I'll always, like, thank them, like, for the support and stuff like that. I feel like you just kind of have to, yeah.
How do you balance that being an opportunity to have a positive impact rather than being a burden? You know what I mean? Like, once you realize people look up to you,
Yeah.
you can almost go down two paths where, like, oh, now I need to be
Like,
someone.
uphold it,
I need
yeah.
to uphold this perception, or I need to constantly give value and be the provider of answers for these people, rather than, hey, I'm just a human being. I'm on a path, I can inspire you, but it's not my responsibility, and I have to detach from my need to be approved by you to prove something.
I think I just keep going, and I just keep doing, like, what I'm doing, because obviously it's working. I think I'm like, well, what I'm doing makes them feel this way, then I'm just going to keep doing that. Like, I'll reply to their messages, I'll give them what I can, but, like, anything more than that, then, you know what I mean, then it's, like, disrupting me, sort of thing. But I think people, like, feel grateful that like, if they even do get a message back, sort of thing. So I feel like I'm like, well, I don't know. I feel grateful. Like, it's like when because it's all young girls. Sometimes I have 10-year-olds messaging me, being like, I love you so much, Mia. Like, I want to come in to get my hair done when I'm older and stuff like that. And I just think it's, like, the best thing ever. And I'll just keep doing what I'm doing, sort of thing, because obviously something's working. And yeah.
Are you able to be grateful enough for where you're at? Like, I know ambitious people are constantly looking for the next
thing.
mountain.
I feel like in a healthy amount, like, sometimes I will be in my head, like, I want to get this far, but then I'll, like, always, I wouldn't even, sometimes I would, like, you do have to be a bit up yourself, like, a little bit, like, sometimes you're like, oh, not to be up myself, but I'll always, like, celebrate my wins, sort of thing. I'll always be like, this is really cool that I do this. This is really cool that I know this person. I'm so grateful for all of my clients. I wouldn't be able to go on a holiday if it weren't for you guys coming to me to get your hair done. So I definitely am, like, very grateful, and I always will stay very like that, no matter, like, how big I get or whatever. Like, I don't want to, like, forget about all the little things that I've achieved, sort of thing.
You don't want, I guess, external success to change the internal?
Yeah, like, I want people to still, like, I feel like I want people to come up to me and feel comfortable to say the things that they're saying to me now, even if I do get bigger. Like, I want them to still, like, feel comfortable with me even getting a reply, or I want to still be relatable. That's what I'm trying to get at. Yeah. Like, I don't want to be, like, too big, or too, like, oh, she wouldn't be doing that, or she's too busy, or whatever, sort of thing. Yeah. I want to stay relatable because I'm young as well. Like, I feel like I'll always be relatable to, like, my audience as well, and people that come to get their hair done. And people that do come to get my hair done, like, I don't want to be on another level than them. I'm, like, just a teenage girl at the same time too, Yeah.
When you get triggered, what's your process there through this spiritual framework that you're starting to learn with your holistic coach? How do you use, I guess, exposure to those experiences to learn more about yourself, and what part is getting triggered inside?
What do I do when I get triggered? Well, first of all, I'm trying to think what triggered it in the first place, I think. And then I think, have I been through this before? And most of the time I can relate it to, like, another time, and what did I do to get out of that situation before? And I'll always talk about it, and I'll always I'll literally like book a holistic like call straight away. I'll be like, yep, like I'm on the call straight away, because I feel like I'm so like I have been through my like darkest days before. So whenever I am starting to get a bit triggered and stuff, I know exactly what to do. Like if
No,
I'm
the
if
warning
it,
signals.
yeah,
Yeah.
100%. Like I'll start to sometimes I get scared because I'm like shit. I think I'm falling down again. But then I know exactly, like I have been so happy, but I've also been so sad, you know? So like I'm like I know exactly what it feels like to be really sad, but I know exactly what it feels like to be really happy too. So I know I'm never stuck in that really triggered mindset. I know I can always get out of it. Yeah, always.
Having the depths or the polarity between the highest of highs and the lowest of lows, that range for that same emotion, I feel like gives you, that's what life experience is, but it gives you an appreciation of what it's like to feel good. Like
Yeah.
if you've only felt like negative 4 out of 10 sadness,
Yeah.
like the opposite on the other end, feeling happy, like there's limits because there is that range, because when you have the good, you appreciate it because you know what it's like to
Yeah,
feel the
to feel
opposite.
bad, 100%. Yeah. I feel like that's something I'm super grateful for, that I feel like, and then even when people come to me, like I know the right things to say almost as well, because I'm like, trust me, girl, like I know, like I know what you're going through, like I understand, sort of thing. Like here's what helped for me, like take it if you want or whatever. Like the amount of times I've told people about a holistic coach and they've gone and done it straight away and they've said that it like has changed their life too. So that's what I'm like, that's all I talk about now. Because it honestly has changed my life. Like when I got asked like what's my peak of the year, I was like spiritual awakening, like full like self journey. Yeah.
How do you inspire someone to go down a path that they're not ready for? Like for me, like with the spiritual stuff,
Mhm.
I've come to the realization, I mean, quite a lot of times that people will not change if they don't want to change,
Yeah.
right? But we love people and we want to have a positive impact. So
Yeah.
our purpose is to inspire, educate, guide them towards a path. What
Yeah.
have you learnt about being able to push them down a direction, but realizing that a lot of people are quite resistant to that? Because to go down a path of a spiritual awakening means you have to confront your ego, confront
Mhm.
your past, and no one really wants to
Yeah,
look
it's
back at the
scary.
hard shit.
Mhm. I think I just talk about my experience, and then I also think that people look at me and they can see it, like they see it work, sort of thing. So like my boyfriend, like he's been through some like really horrific stuff in his life, like super sad stuff, and I was like, you need to do it, you need to do it, but he didn't do it. Like he didn't do
Mm.
it until he's seen it change me completely. And then what do you do as soon as like he's seen that change, or like, you know, he was kind of like convinced enough, he like booked a call straight away and he started doing it as well. You know,
Mm.
so like it's literally just like once you see it happening on someone, sometimes you do have to see it happening on someone else, and maybe that was like I was already spiritual anyway, so I knew it was gonna work. Or I was kind of brave enough to take the risk anyways. But I've seen it happen to my mum as well, and she's so spiritual as well. So I feel like I've had an example of it, but some people have just never had an example of it. So I try to be like the example of like, if you don't want to take it, you don't want to take it. But I feel like once you become an example and people like full see it with their own two eyes, that's when they start to go into that sort of stuff.
I forget the quote, but it's something to do with like, I'll paraphrase it, but it's like we want to change.
Well, you're not changing, you're choosing.
No, but we
No.
want to change the world, all right? Like a lot of us have this drive, innate drive. We want to have a positive impact and we're constantly like going to other people, let me fix your problems. I know what you're doing wrong.
Yeah, trying to have control over other people's like
Mm,
life, basically.
but you
Yeah.
change the world when you change yourself.
Yeah.
And embodying that change, like I've felt that in my relationship, literally, like when you work on yourself, focus on that, because I think part
And
of,
mirror you.
yeah,
That's a
exactly.
big thing. Yeah,
Mm.
that's a big thing she taught me, is like everyone's a mirror. Like my boyfriend started to mirror things even I was saying, like with the energy and stuff like that. He started to say it, and I was like, "Oh, look at you!" Like talking all that spiritual and stuff, you know. So yeah, everyone's a mirror, I feel. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Take me through, I guess, the future horizon. What have we got in store to wrap this conversation up? Where are you headed? What are you excited about for 2025?
2025. 2025 was actually the first time I did a vision board because I've just seen it work for so many people. So I'm actually really excited. I really want to start getting into, like I said, like the TV people. I've already got 2 people that have been on reality TV that are coming in the chair that I'm really, really excited about. Really want to start doing education, and I feel like I've put and it's not really about followers, but I feel like I want to just like have my name out there a lot more and stuff, and I feel like I would just want to work on me a lot more. Like there's always like self-growth, like you can always do so much more and more. Like I want to start getting into because I was doing my holistic calls like quite regularly, and then you kind of stop because you can kind of test it for yourself, like be independent with it. But I think I'm going to start going back into it again. I'm not saying like I'm really bad mentally again, but it's like sometimes when you're not, it's always good to do it just to
Yeah,
check up on
exactly.
things and stuff like that. So I want to start getting into doing my holistic coach more, like more frequently and stuff, and focus on my friends, start like going out a little bit more, which is weird because some people say like they want to go out less, but I feel like I've just focused on work so much. I haven't been able to be a 19-year-old a little bit. So I think I want to start having more fun. And my biggest goal was start paying myself a wage this year.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I want to start like actually being able to like pay myself.
With
Money.
that, do you just pay enough for, because do you live out of home?
I live at mum. Yeah, I live in
You live,
home now.
oh, you live back
Yeah.
home.
Mm-hmm.
So do you just pay yourself anything, like, or just
Honestly,
go straight back into business?
just pay myself anything really. Like, everything does go back into the business, and then whatever I have left over, I'll just have. Sometimes
Okay.
it's $150, sometimes it's $300, and then sometimes I'll get like some cash, and I'll just like have that sort of
Yeah.
thing. Most of the time, it is cash.
Yeah.
Like, that's all I can really have because I do pay GST. Like my first year, I found out I had to pay GST because I made over $100,000, which I was like, what the hell? And then, that's when all the GST comes in, and then obviously I'm paying like a full like commercial property rent now
Yeah.
and everything like that, water bill, whatever, like all that sort of stuff. So everything is going back into the business and stuff. So yeah, I think I want to be a little bit more busy with work so I can pay myself a wage like now, or just be more like money efficient, I feel. Yeah.
What about some mic'd up TikToks? Do you do them when you cut people's hair?
What is
Do
it?
you do any mic'd up TikToks? Like
What does that mean?
you both mic'd up, you
Oh,
talk
mic'd
like
up.
interviews.
Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna do that with the TV girls. Like, I'm gonna do like Q&As with
That's
them and
awesome.
like
Yeah.
ask them a bunch of like juicy questions because I'm sure everyone would like want to know what it's like being on reality TV type thing. So yeah, I definitely want to do that. I've done a couple of those like with my best friend, like funny ones and
Yeah.
stuff. But I feel like they need to be like interesting. I feel like I know what does well on my TikTok now, and I feel like it's the education videos, and sometimes it's just like, I don't know, me doing an outfit or something like that, like I just kind of know what does well. But yeah, I want to do more like I'll be doing their hair and asking them questions and stuff. Yeah.
Any concluding thoughts?
No, I'm happy to be here. I'm so excited.
Yeah. Well, thanks for
Thanks
coming
so
on.
much. Yeah.
Yeah, I really appreciate you sharing your story. You should be really proud of yourself. And
Thank you.
it's been awesome to get more insight into hair, to be honest.
Yes.
But the journey is always more than, I guess, meets the eye, and it was good to hear some of the, I guess, your story and what you're doing. You're inspiring a lot of people, obviously.
Thank you.
So keep up the good work. I'll be supporting.
Thank you. I'm sure if you ask your hairdresser what's her story, she'll have a full story for herself as well.
Yeah, 100%. All right. Thanks, Mia.
Thank you so much.